Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You've just seen an advert there for RLDatix, the supporters of our fantastic studio here today. And from RLDatix, I am joined by my next guest, Barbara Staruk. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing, Barbara?
Doing great. Thank you very much. It's good Confederation, and it's good to speak with you.
Have you had much time to go around the show as yet?
I only got here about the late morning, so I've been able to see some old friends and colleagues, and most importantly, customers. So I've had a good couple hours. Thank you.
Well, it's been brilliant to have you join us here in the studio. As I say, thank you so much for supporting us. We've just seen a bit of an advert there, a bit of a preview of RLDatix, but tell us a bit more about what you guys do. Tell us a bit more about the company.
Yeah, well, let me start by telling you a bit about me. So you might hear I've got a relatively heavy American accent. Nobody would guess this, but my 20-year anniversary of the day I moved to England actually was on Sunday. So I've spent most of my adult life here.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. We celebrated. We celebrated with a lovely bottle of wine and watching American basketball, so some things never change.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But I actually came here originally with a healthcare business. I've been in healthcare technology my whole life. We were implementing theater management software at UCLH in London. And if I fast forward all the way to where we are today, that sort of started on a journey where I've ended up at RLDatix very specifically, which is heavily focused on patient safety and what we can do to manage and mitigate patient safety as well as staff safety. So we are very heavily focused in the world of staff management and retention through rostering, through job planning, as well as through safety management, patient safety incident management, and clinical data safety. So we very much focus on all of those areas where information can be used to leverage to assist and minimize patient safety and harm events.
Okay, that's, I know what you do a lot about is about connecting healthcare and operations, connecting those dots. Tell us a little bit more about what that means as well.
Yeah, look, when you think about connecting healthcare operations, everyone who works in healthcare knows that there are spots of activity that take place, and it's the responsibility of technology to bring those spots together. And we look at connecting healthcare operations as taking those dead elements of information and making sure they're available to the clinicians and leaders who need them when they need it. That's our job. We aren't care providers. Those people are experts. Our job is to bring the tools to their trade.
Okay, and so do you think it's critical to safety? And if so, how is connecting healthcare operations critical to safety with new EPR systems in particular?
This is such an important piece, right? So the NHS is on a journey, as it's been for the 20 years that I've been here, and we've just announced that there's going to be another rightful push to modernize our EPR systems. And the EPR is what holds all the relevant clinical information about a patient. It is literally the lifeblood of the healthcare technology system. And when you put in a new EPR, that is a sign of forward progress. You're putting that in to consolidate, so you don't have a separate radiology system and lab system and imaging system. You want all of those in one place, and that's what modern EPRs do. They're incredible. But when you think about coming in with a new EPR, what happens to everything else? Literally, the patient safety element can sometimes not be put into the forefront. So the EPR going forward has all the data in one place, but the data from before is often in disaggregated systems, very hard to access. I usually give an example. Just imagine if you're a clinician and you pitch up and you come see me and you say you've got some abdominal pain. And I go to look at my EPR, it's great, it's a brand new system. We've had it for about 6 months' time. I can't see your past results. I can't see your past imaging. And what do you think can happen? Safety events. You reorder tests. You end up missing diagnoses. There's no longitudinal care. So very directly related to new EPRs. It's the right move, but you've got to make sure that you haven't increased the risk of harm events while doing so.
Interesting, yeah, because every time you implement a system, it's all good if everything merges together, but is it the same scenario when organizations are sort of merging together and integrating?
Isn't that, it's a very similar scenario, but maybe even more so, right? Because when mergers come together, whether those are healthcare institutions, whether they're individual businesses, whether they're people, you always have to give up a bit on the way, right? So there's an enormous culture change that goes on when two institutions merge. You've got to learn new ways of working, you've got to learn a new culture, you've got to learn new systems, and oftentimes, anytime information is not at the hands of the caregiver, whether that's due to culture, whether that's due to workflow, all of that is going to introduce a patient safety risk, which is what we're really focused on mitigating.
And have you got any examples of the risks to patient safety when legacy data isn't connected optimally?
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, so we have many examples of what good looks like and where the challenges can lie. And it's all going to come down to a clinician in a room who doesn't have the information that he or she needs. A patient, they go for their care over a period of time. Healthcare is a lifetime for a patient. You've got to make sure the data is the same. It's whether it's reordering tests, whether it's being unable to find past medications administered, because those are locked in a legacy system with a different login. So we've got many, and it's all going to come down to technology ensuring that all the data is in the same place for the clinician so that they can just provide care.
And what impact does this type of lack of connectivity actually have on the clinicians themselves?
It makes their job harder every day. Again, just think, I've got to log into this system and this system and this system, and our entire design of our organization, everything that we do is about making sure data is available in that same place. If you're a clinician, imagine you've gone live with your new EPR, it's fantastic, everything's in one place, but 3 years from now, I've got to remember to go back to my old lab system if I'm trying to figure out something. I haven't seen Simon in 3 years. It's really difficult. It creates stress, it creates risk, it creates handovers, and all of those are what clinicians try to avoid, because their goal is to give the best care that they can.
Absolutely. What do you think are the main barriers then to this implementation?
Culture, that's a large part of it. That's always been a part of change, but in all honesty, the technology just hasn't really been there in the past. We've been really, the healthcare ecosystem has gotten really good at interoperability in simple ways. I can send lab data, et cetera. But this is that next level of being able to really understand information and put it all in one place. So I don't think there was anything when people were going live with new EPRs that they were selecting a worse option. I think technology just hadn't caught up, and isn't it cool that we're here now?
Absolutely. So any other barriers, or do you think that's the main?
I think that was the main one. I think when you look at the change that's going on when somebody's bringing in a new EPR, if you've never been in a clinical system, in the clinical healthcare system, it's hard to even imagine how much change that is, because a clinician is doing their job, and imagine your main system that you do everything in is changing. So there is you have to choose what change you take on at a given time. So that's a bit of it as well. But the technology is only coming now.
Fantastic. And what can organizations do to put safeguards in place?
It's a good question. So obviously adopting technology in the right time and using interoperability is really important. You can also do really simple things like making sure you've prioritized single sign-on. So the clinician it's as simple as possible for he or she to access different systems. Give them reminders, training, remember, information of past, if you don't have the opportunity to bring all your data with you, that don't forget to go here and check that. Maybe have super users of old systems. There are safeguards, but it's hard to maintain over time. And again, a patient's healthcare is their whole life. So, the day in the sand when we've moved forward with this great system to a patient, that's not anything. That was just last Tuesday.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what role do you think the software industry has in terms of the connectivity, the actual integration and connectivity?
This is our job. This is why we as a whole industry are here. This is why every tech business who's here at Confed today is here. Our job is to create the fabric and the network of interoperability to make sure those folks who have been caring for patients so well and for so long are able to do their job. Literally, that is why we're all here, and that's what should motivate all of us.
Absolutely. And in terms of, I know you've mentioned you've not longer out. Have you had a chance to go around the show and take much else in your short time here?
Well, so first of all, I haven't been to Manchester Central in a while, so let's start with the venue. What a great venue.
It's a massive venue, isn't it?
There's
a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. Reusing train stations, whether that's for museums in Paris or whether that's for this conference, are fantastic. But no, there's a lot going on. We're seeing a lot more on AI. Obviously, NHS England has very big pushes in productivity and how we're using our time and space. We've got an election coming up, so there's a lot of enthusiasm around the election, what that might mean for us. But at the end of the day, it's an organization that we're all here together to see how we can care better, and you can feel that here. And new tech is coming all the time.
Is there any other sessions that you're hoping to join or jump into?
It's a good question. There's some cool, I think as technology changes, I'm a product person at the end of the day, so I always like to see what's happening. There's some good AI sessions that are coming up. I heard the keynote this morning, which I was unable to make, was fantastic. I think there's a lot of the NHS goes through, is always in a period of change and improvement, but we've had a really particularly hard couple of years, and I think if there's one thing I sense is that by focusing heavily on productivity, I think we can all almost see our way out of it.
And in terms of just slightly looking sort of towards the future, is there anything you're excited about, anything that's coming up that you think,
that's going to do it for us?
That's it.
I think the real democratization of AI is something that's been really, really good to see even inside our own business. We have, obviously, we've been playing this connective tissue and staff and safety focus for a really long time. I see that technology is just different and being able to take some of the tasks away from the clinicians so that we're always finding ways where the clinician can focus on their medical caregiving. And I think you're going to see even more of that coming as technology evolves.
Brilliant. And final question, RLDatix, as a main supporter of the studio here.
Yep.
Why have you chosen to support the studio this year?
Because I think in our goal as an organization is to make sure we're facilitating conversations, to make sure that people are able to speak about what can be better, what we can do better, and we see ourselves as collaborators with our partners here, with our customers, for the patients. So this is exactly the kind of conversations we want to have and we want other people to have.
I've loved having some conversations with it. I've met some very interesting people.
I'm sure you have.
Including yourself, Barbara.
I'm sure you have.
I say thank you so much for your time, and thank
Pleasure.
you very much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
That was Barbara Staruk there, joining us right here.